calling to order the Telecom Advisory Committee. Date is January 7th, 6 p.m. Any follow-up from last meeting? We still don't have agendas. That's one of the things, or our minutes. We don't have minutes because we still are lacking a
you took them?
timekeeper.
Okay.
That's right, you were doing it for us.
Yeah.
Awesome, great.
So,
I'm still putting temporary clerk on there.
all right, cool.
Okay. I need that to attach to the agendas, so if you
Okay,
can
so
email
do
me
we
that.
need to read them in the next meeting and approve them? Or-
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'll get-
before the next agenda goes out, if you can get those.
Yeah, and I'll
Great.
attach them to the agenda.
My
that
bad,
we'll-
because I've had this for a couple of weeks, okay.
Okay,
All right.
sorry, I should have remembered that. Let me remind myself.
Yeah.
You get my Robert's Rules extension?
I did.
We'll get good at this eventually.
At some point.
The content is still good. One thing before we do anything, I heard from Mayor LaChapelle this afternoon that she's made an emergency appointment of Stan Diamond, who's
Oh, okay.
on your board,
True.
to
I know
this
Stan.
committee. He has an obligation tonight, but will be at the future meetings.
Okay.
The obligation is
He's at the meeting we're
Yeah.
gonna run out to in just a little while here.
But so and then what'll happen there is that name will get sent to the council and it'll go through the process.
The ratification.
But we have, he has like a couple months that I think he can be on for 60 days. So we'll have time to get him through that process.
Okay.
And so, provided that the council sees fit, we'll have an actual member of them in a month or so. Yeah.
A very active one to boot.
Yes. He's very excited in this stuff, so that's cool.
You guys want to follow along?
Thanks, appreciate that. There you go.
That's actually
It's more than one, isn't it? Sorry about that.
3 pages per bundle.
I guess since these folks have another meeting to run to, should we?
Let's
go
deal with
to
them
their
first.
thing
Yeah,
and
that
then we'll
sounds
deal
great.
with
They're
their-
actually the second agenda point anyway, so I think that's
We appreciate it.
valid.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for putting us on the agenda. My name is Jen Ramsey. I'm the new executive director at Easthampton Media.
I've been watching your progress with interest.
Oh, good. I've been there a little over a month now, so I'm still kind of getting acclimated. But one of the things we wanted to do is just come and tell you kind of a little bit about us and how we're funded and what our future holds. So typically, public access television stations like ours are funded by a percentage of a fee that comes out of people's cable subscription fee. A percentage of the fee is paid towards the municipality. The municipality signs a contract with the cable company, and then they also sign a contract with us to give us some of that money. And so as people are cable cutting, cord cutting, and moving towards streaming services and away from television, our funding is definitely going to get cut. So we just wanted to kind of express interest in joining or somehow being a part of your municipal internet, in that we can still provide the public meeting coverage. We're hoping to do a lot more community outreach and projects with the community. A lot of our stuff is streaming on the web or going to be streaming on the web. Right now we have a Vimeo page and a YouTube page that people can see all of our content on. So we're kind of in the internet world. We're halfway in the TV world and half in the internet world. But
Where I think a lot of media companies are at this point.
yeah, and so as time goes on, we're moving towards the community media center rather than public access television station, which includes internet and web streaming and multimedia, things like that. So
And just a little bit.
yeah,
Friends, this is a really easy decision to make. We're not just any media company. In the 70s, Order 611 went through by the FCC, essentially mandating that cable companies give money, and they fought tooth and nail, kicking and screaming every inch of the way. And why did they do it? So that our citizens had the right to watch this very meeting and all the other meetings that happen here. And not just that, not just the government component, we're a PEG station, that's the G, the educational component, the things that are going on in schools, all the parents around watching their kids at functions. And then of course the most important element of being a PEG station is the P, it's public. People can come in, all the citizens of Easthampton, into our studio and use that studio for free. Take out our equipment, rent it for free. Get training on how to have their voice heard for free. This is 5% that you need to put to us. Right now, we're getting hurt because the cable companies are pulling it away. And when it goes away, there's gonna be a massive screaming. People want to see what's going on, and you are the doorway, the gateway to make this happen. This is a feel-good thing that you can put in that will benefit this community in a huge way. I know that no one here in any way, shape, or form is like the cable company was before in this organization that we're putting together. We're not kicking and screaming. We know what's right for the community, and we're doing it willingly, where everyone gets to see. That's all I have to say.
So I know I've talked to some people in the past about this. Some people, when this idea was initially proposed, were antagonistic because they said, well, Easthampton Media gets all their money from Charter, so don't do anything to threaten Charter because we like Easthampton Media. And the conversation always was, well, why does Charter have to be the sole support for Easthampton Media? Certainly, I think that what the service that you guys provide is invaluable to our community, and so many people rely on it and benefit from it, and it makes us a stronger community to have you guys, and we really do appreciate what you guys offer and bring to Easthampton. It's extremely valuable. I think that everyone would agree with that, I would hope.
Yeah, I mean, as an elected, it's really hard to understate, or it's hard to overstate how important, like, having Easthampton Media is. First of all, I spent about 7 hours on Easthampton Media last night, catching up on a lot of overdue minutes. So that's having just that ability that somebody says, "Hey, what went down at that meeting? How did that go? What was the atmosphere in the room?"
Right.
Here's one. So just that government, and you're right. There's more to it than that. So I do think that it's something like, this is really exciting to me. This is something that I think would be an enormous economic development, like no-brainer for the community. But it does lead to a situation where, when we did the tour at Westfield,
Right.
they were showing, like, the first thing you do when you come in that door is they have all of the options that you can have instead of TV. They have this little satellite doodad that I don't fully understand to this day. They have, like, a Roku or whatever, and they're selling Rokus and Fire Sticks and all that, and these little satellites at cost. So they're saying they're buying them in bulk and they're selling them at cost. So you can get them cheaper there than you could at,
Even
the
Best
retail.
Buy,
Yeah, and they're installing them and giving you customer support for free and showing you, they're having classes on how you do it, because they're specifically saying, like, look, if the thing that is holding you up from adopting our service is that you want to watch TV, like, here are your other options, and they're aggressively doing that. And even looking at that, I was like, that's incredible, but man, that is how our local access is.
Well, and
fun.
that was also very timely because it was right about the same week that the FCC announced that they were going to be removing that support.
That's right.
And so, like, that was on our mind when we were there. It was like, wow, that's, Easthampton Media.
And I believe you can stream YouTube on Vimeo, on Roku,
Yep.
and all those streaming
Absolutely,
services.
yeah.
So,
Sure.
so as of 2019, we have migrated over to YouTube, so you can
Yep.
get us on Roku.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of
And
ways that we
Vimeo
might be
too, I
able to
believe,
add.
is a channel that Roku can do. And
Yeah.
The Web City people pretty much are reading the landscape. TV, I think, I wouldn't say it's going away, but
No, but it's changing.
streaming is the future.
Yeah.
I've been a proud cable cutter since I moved to the area 8 years ago.
Yeah,
Like,
same
it's-
with me.
I-
Yeah.
I don't miss it.
20
And I
years
think that
TV
a
is
lot of
floppy
people,
disks.
yeah, I think a lot of people are getting to that direction because you can watch it on your schedule rather than theirs. You can, it's more on demand for you than it is for them, and the infrastructure's already built out there. I mean, you heard about Yahoo Sports? You can stream the NFL now.
Yeah.
You can do that from Hulu,
Hulu,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hulu.
Yeah, I actually considered doing that this year. But yeah, so
Well, Yahoo's free.
whoa, okay.
Yeah.
That I hadn't heard, really.
Interesting.
Hopefully,
Okay.
Very interesting.
So and this, maybe that's the other thing about this. On one hand, I think we do owe it to the community to look at this to see how we mitigate sort of the harm that we create. But I also think that there's a reality facing, anything that's funded by cable TV subscriptions,
Right.
and we might be able to. I mean, obviously this is going to take a while. Like, assuming that everyone signs on and is enthusiastically on board, it's going to take a while,
Of course.
a few years probably minimum, for us to be ready to be
Build it
moving
out
into this.
entirely and, yeah.
But I do think that, you know, we could potentially have sort of a platform for you guys to jump to at the point that, you know, this TV thing is starting to erode, and might erode a little bit faster depending on how G Pie and friends handle themselves in the next few months.
I think that we would have probably some opportunities to look at how you guys could expand what you offer to the community as well.
Yeah,
Probably one of the
for
This
best.
sure.
is probably a house.
For sure.
See, this is an opportunity for us to build a unique sort of relationship. Instead of someone coming in and mandating it be done and it being an adversarial relationship, we could become a partner. Think about ways in which we can assist in the whole process, you know, with our company working alongside your efforts. A lot of opportunities there.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think it's exciting. I wonder, have any, I'm asking this as if anyone knows the answer to this. You guys might know better than me.
I got Google.
Are there, so you know, there are a number of municipalities that are quite a bit ahead of us in this process. Many of them presumably have their own PEG setups. I wonder if, what's that?
Precedents?
Yeah, I wonder what there is in terms of setups for that kind of stuff.
Agreement between
Yeah.
municipal internet and PEG station?
Yeah. I mean, like, I know that when we were, we got a tour a couple months back, or a few of us were able to go. It was during the day, but to Whip City Fiber's facility, which is very exciting. But they were really big when they're working through this whole thing about saying, don't share your revenue. Like, you're going to need that revenue to be making aggressive infrastructure upgrades every few years to stay competitive and whatever. And so, you know, I would think that the way that this would likely be structured in the end, for the most part, would be saying none of this finds its way to the general fund, none of this finds its way to the pension fund. This stays in a fund that's use is upgrading this technology. But I do think that it wouldn't be politically a terribly hard sell to say, but we're going to put a $5 or something like assessment onto this bill.
An additional fee.
You know, and that is going to go to you guys.
It's worth talking to Westfield about that, because they've had a very active public access station there, like even
Yeah.
long before I was watching that back in the early 2000s. So, and I know they use some of the facilities at Westfield State
To do that?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
great.
So, but
We need to do some research, I think, to find out what's going on.
that's what I'm thinking. They're right next door to us. We're using them as kind of a model for rolling out fiber, and this
Great.
is another way to look into it. I'm talking to one of the officers over there right now, because we're trying to nail down some financial numbers. So I will mention it to him the next time we pass him. But by all means, this is something we should probably all pursue.
Besides Westfield, what other cities and towns have their own networks?
Oh, South Hadley is looking into
They're
it.
moved. They've
They're in the
approved it.
process.
They're
Right.
gonna
Yeah,
do
I know, and Holyoke and Northampton are looking into it.
Well,
Right.
Holyoke just got ordered, because Holyoke Gas and Electric has had fiber in the community for years.
Yeah.
But they haven't implemented fiber to door.
Yeah.
And they're fighting it, and they actually just got mandated by the city government that they have to start doing
Let's
it.
make it happen.
Yeah.
So they're, I don't know where that's gonna go, I don't know how they're gonna fight it, but.
Montague rolled it out, was as part of
Yeah.
that federal grant.
Leverett did it.
The hills,
You know, a lot of the hill towns did, but a lot of those hill towns probably don't have local. I mean, I remember
Yeah,
growing up in
Montague has
Bergie.
it.
I don't
Right,
Yeah,
remember.
I'm
exactly.
pretty sure
We
they
are,
do.
Well, that's the
Montague
whole
probably
reason they got
does
the
it.
grants, is because they had no infrastructure.
we
Yeah.
are cutting edge
wanna
in many
bring that.
ways here in Easthampton. And while you hear these communities battling, and I do suspect you've got some battles coming your way, I think it'll be far easier and far fewer than in other communities, because it's very progressive here. Our TV station is incredibly cutting edge. It's brand new, and it offers a wonder to people that you just can't get in other places around.
I've been
And
there.
it's because of the fact that we're forward thinking, not just as a station, but because all of our board members are members of the community, the same members that are on other boards and doing other things here, and we all share the same ideal: move the city forward, be right up the forefront, and be progressive. And so you can count on many of us to see the wisdom in the work that you're doing.
Good.
I'd like to find ways that we can come up with ROI for that 5%. That's another conversation that we can talk.
Right. Great. Well, is there anyone here that would like to do any research into into agreements, particularly in Massachusetts, since we've got our own general laws.
I could definitely poke at it. I've got it on my notes.
Right, and I'll
Things
talk
to-
to Westfield about it. 'Cause
Perfect.
I expect I'll be having an ongoing conversation with them.
And if you guys
I'll actually bring that,
find
I did
anything-
get contact information for, what's her name? I'll find her name.
Oh yeah, the fiber book person, yeah.
So yeah, there's I know that a few of us have just talked about it, but so there's a woman who just wrote a book. Her name is Susan Crawford. She is a lawyer from Boston and New York City, and the book is called Fiber. And she worked at ICANN back in the day, the Internet Coalition for Assigned Names and Numbers. She has been on the forefront of the fiber revolution, and has done keynote speaks in Minneapolis when they were looking at rolling out fiber out there and the rest of that. So I want to talk to her about this too and see if she has any, and she's been watching the hill towns and watching Western Mass in particular for the last few years. So
You're about to have our Stan. I'm sure that he
I
would be
met
the
this man.
perfect person to send on a research mission to find out more. He's going to be a great asset to you all.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
there's another potential research talent there.
Yeah, great.
Thank
So,
you very much.
Yeah, I think we'll just keep this conversation going, and if
Yeah.
you have anything you think we should see, just send it our way.
Thank you so
Great.
much
Sounds
for
good.
hearing us. It's okay with you,
Oh,
I'd like to
please,
respond
thank
from each of you.
All right.
Thank you. That's how we do it.
Coming in.
All right, keep up the good work, Carrie. Come on, we got our hands full tomorrow.
Thank you for your time.
Nice to meet you.
Be well.
Yep,
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Drive safe.
thank
Oh,
you.
I'm not gonna read, have the records.
At the very least, I'll have it, and we'll.
No, next, I've been writing them up about a week or two after the meeting, so.
Yeah, and just
I'll
toss them to me
email it
in
to
an
you.
email or
I
if you
thought about
have it in
that, but then I
Google and you
was
can
like,
share
should
it.
I send this to everybody or so?
Just share it with you doing on Google Drive?
Yeah, I can do Google Docs.
Yeah, just
if I
toss it
have
to me on Google Drive and I'll add it to this, because I keep this on the Google Drive all the time too. So that-
Yeah, I tend to use Microsoft Word because it's on the computer, but I used to use Google with a couple jobs. All right, not a problem. Which probably, while we're on this subject, do you want me to just be the permanent clerk? Because I don't have a problem, I think I got the time.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, you've got a lot. I know everybody here has got a lot on their plate, Harry's got other, and actually both of you have others, so I think I'm a natural.
If you'd be willing to do that, that would be incredible, because it's.
Yes.
Well, we don't want to throw it on the new guy because he might quit. You know,
I don't think that would drive Stan away, honestly.
No, I'm glad we have that, filling that hole for us, so, all right, further.
It's very good news to know that we've got somebody who's appointed, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that was.
So are we on to the.
All right, I will put your name on the,
Okay,
because you will be the clerk, so you will be taking over that role.
Yep, that's great. Permanent clerk.
Thank you.
Yeah, I tried to close it the last time, it didn't
I'll
work.
leave that one open so people can.
Yeah, there's not as much noise coming down the hallway as.
No, it's her voice carries.
Cool, so,
Congratulations, Ken.
Yeah, I think.
So the next thing on the menu is to look at the telecom memo that was written by our lovely Tom Peak.
No, you did, I wasn't sure who
Yeah.
wrote this. Okay,
so,
great.
well, basically, last meeting, we discussed this, that there is, there's a lot left to do, but we're starting to maybe get to a point where there are some mayoral or council actions that could be taken that either could already be taken to set this up for success, or that we might sort of need going forward. One of those, probably the biggest one, and comes in here, is I actually jumped into the Mass General Law about fiber and about municipal light plans, or light plants, rather, I'm sorry. And there's one little caveat that I didn't know about, which I'm hoping is not a big deal. Previously, I thought that what they required to become one is 2 votes of the city council.
Okay.
what I was looking at was a thing that was about town. So it was 2 votes of town meeting. The town meeting is different. When you're a city, you have to have 2 city council votes. No big deal. That goes through the rules subcommittee, and I'm on that. So, you know, I can advocate for that, and I think that since it doesn't cost anything, that should be a fairly easy thing to do. It then goes to the voters.
Gotcha.
And this is the new information I did not have.
Right.
So if we did this the way that I'm planning on doing it,
We
that
still
I'm
wouldn't be
thinking
able
right
to
now,
ratify until after what?
November 2019,
Okay.
which is fine. It's going to take more time than that for us to
Oh, yeah, yeah.
do. I mean, like, the problem is that it has to be a regularly scheduled municipal election, which means if we miss that,
We're screwed.
we were waiting until November 2021. We might be able to talk the Commonwealth into being okay with a special election. Special elections cost about $10,000, and we're trying to save money right now.
Makes sense.
So, what that's going to mean is that we're probably going to be looking at, well, a schedule of taking a vote this spring, taking a vote in July,
Yep.
and then putting it on the ballot.
Real ballot in
And
November.
then being ready to do some public outreach, which is something that I didn't actually anticipate us doing in this committee, because
Right.
we're gonna have to educate the voters on what this is, and, you know, I don't think it's a particularly difficult sell at the end of the day, because
No, I think
it
a lot
doesn't
of people
cost
want it.
anything,
Yeah.
and it sets us up to do something if we decide to do it,
Right.
and it
Even
doesn't.
if we don't, it doesn't
Yeah.
do anything.
We were gonna have that public meeting anyway, so
Yeah.
now you've given us a framework here and actually a schedule, you know.
Yeah,
yeah.
so, but, and I really do think it should be, look, there's gonna be, if we do this, well, okay, so first of all, it's not our call. When I'm saying we, I mean the city.
Yes,
correct?
exactly.
Our call is to say to the city council and the mayor,
That we recommend.
we
this.
recommend you do this. If they choose to go forward with that, I think, I personally, outside of this advisory committee, will dedicate a large amount of time, particularly, I mean, depending on how hard my own reelection ends up being. Like, I'm going to devote a lot of my time this year to helping to do outreach. But this is like, if we want to do this, this is a little wrinkle that I've sort of just discovered, and it does
It's a
mean
pretty big wrinkle,
Yeah,
but
actually, yeah.
I think I don't think it's an undoable wrinkle.
Again, because it's gonna take probably till 2021 to roll this thing out if everything goes well. So it's one more step in there, but I think we
Yeah.
have time to accommodate this. And it also gives us a clear communication from the city that, yeah, we wanna go forward with
Well,
this.
that's it. I think this is a good thing
Yeah,
because,
so.
well, this is, I mean, the best gauge to know this is what people want
Right.
or this is what people don't want.
right. I mean, if this passes with 70%, then it's like, okay, this is, you know,
Well, we know we're golden at that
Right.
point, because then we know
Yeah.
that's what people are looking forward to.
right. I mean,
Right.
you know, so I think, and given the fact that we're not committing any funds or anything like
Right.
right off the bat, I don't
Exactly.
think it's a huge sale, but it is extra work, right? Because
Right.
if people walk into the ballot box and they don't know what something is, they might just vote no. So we're gonna have to figure out,
Well, can we create a municipal light plant to begin the process of getting fiber to the door?
maybe sometimes the Commonwealth's often pretty tricky about
Right.
like there was if you remember like the new school
Yeah.
vote, like no one was really happy with the language of that ballot, but like we didn't write that language.
Right, it's something that comes from.
They were like, this is
mandated
really,
down.
really specific, here's what you have to do.
That's part of our public outreach to explain that. And again, you know, I think word's already kind of getting around town that this effort is afoot. you
I
know,
agree.
so-
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't think that we'll necessarily have a ton of work finding people who are having to spread that message, but I'm just saying, this does clarify things. It means that
So the
we,
council has to vote twice.
yes,
And then the municipal public should vote once.
yes.
Yeah, which has to be as part of the municipal election, or we're paying 10 grand for the special election.
Right, which I just
What's
have no.
what's the voting day on November?
November.
The second, it's the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November.
Yeah.
So that will be
So,
Right, so again, we were talking, you know,
The
we got.
first Tuesday after the first Monday will be the 5th.
The 5th.
Yeah.
No, the first Tuesday after the first Monday will be the 12th.
No, that's not right. The first Monday is
The 4th.
right, so the first Tuesday would be.
The 5th.
So it is the 5th.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Not the week later. That,
Yeah,
alright,
no,
okay.
it's,
So yeah, it'll
but
be
if the
5th.
first, if the first, day of the month is a Tuesday, then it.
Then it would be
becomes
like the
second
8th or
Tuesday.
whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
given that we have to get this survey together and finalize that and get that out as the first step, you know, I think
Yeah.
we're in pretty good shape there. And then at that point, decide when we're gonna have the first meeting and whatever other outreach we're gonna do to people, so.
Right. So
I
basically.
mean, one of the things we definitely need at this point is to get the survey, the link that Jason has promised us.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Get on
that'll,
that as soon as he
Yeah.
sends it out, which is kind of a later
Yeah.
point. We were gonna talk about it
Right.
on number 5.
So
Right.
what was our plan with that now? We're gonna do some kind of online survey,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
We were waiting to hear back from the mayor as to whether we can incorporate it, you know.
We were waiting, he was
So-
waiting to get feedback from the mayor, he was waiting to
Right.
get back information from Whip City.
Right.
I don't know where he stands on those right now, but I do
Right.
know that he has something
Okay.
online that he wants to share with us and that
We
we
should-
can look at
Right.
and make our recommendations and
So
changes.
just before we spend too
Just
much
based on that
time
piece of paper that he
like,
showed us last couple of
mobilizing,
times.
Right.
we do have just a little bit more that I have to say.
Yes,
about
please,
this.
please, please.
The other thing is, you know, before we move forward, the one other thing we're going to need is like some sort of more thorough
Yes.
and final like cost estimate,
Okay.
which, you know,
I sent an email out last week, I apologize for not sending it earlier, with my document. Rich got back to me right away,
Mhm.
said he wanted to run it by other people at Westfield, and then he'll get
Okay.
back to me.
okay.
So I think his intent is to actually give us some real details and flesh out the numbers. I specifically asked him for running the trunk line up to us, and then the cost of the hut, including whatever construction costs would
Right.
go with it. And then I think he might be going a little bit further and figuring out some of the upfront costs when we start going online as far as personnel and things like that. So I told Greg, I didn't want to push them because they've been so
Yeah.
great. and-
No, I
Yeah.
agree, yeah.
So, you know, I think we'll have that information by the next meeting, and then at that point, you know, we can figure out if we're gonna, you know, pursue an independent cost estimate to hand to people, or if this is enough to start, you know.
I just think, you know, we're gonna need, like, in the big picture, right, eventually we're gonna need to presumably borrow money. I mean,
Right.
we don't have tens of millions of dollars sitting around in a bank account somewhere, so we're gonna have to borrow money, and in order to borrow that money, we're gonna have to get a sense. So eventually there will have to be,
Yeah.
Blood in the water.
Well-
there will have to be, like, there will have to be eventually, like, for instance, like, what they said is eventually we're gonna have to need to do a poll survey.
Yeah.
Right.
You just
The make ready.
Yeah, to figure out, so the way that they were saying it, correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, but it's basically, every time that there's not a foot of clearance, you need to pay everyone to move their wires down.
Yep.
If they can't move their wires down enough, then you need to pay for a new pole.
Yes.
So ideally, that doesn't happen too much, and they did mention that Easthampton has a good deal of fairly tall, fairly new poles.
Especially in
So
the.
what we're gonna do, we're gonna be joining up with Westfield, is that the idea? This whole thing?
Well,
That's
that's
one
one option.
possibility.
That's one option.
It's an option.
I mean-
Well, I was gonna say, maybe, has anybody talked to anybody in Westfield that has their service to find out what it's actually all about, and if they were
Yeah.
satisfied with it and all that? Has
That was
anybody
part
done
of the
that?
site visit, the people are very, very happy with
They
their
are?
service.
Oh, very.
Yeah, and it's selling
Okay.
itself, the rollout's going much better than they thought.
Okay.
I think, speaking to your thing, what I asked them specifically about was running the backbone and then the cost of the hub. The cost for running the fiber optic cable from the hub to Easthampton neighborhoods and the end run cost of actually hooking up houses and stuff, that's gonna be the same, no matter who those first two things are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really comes down to that, and then the miscellaneous costs that I really given a rough tag to. I'm sure this number is way too low.
Right.
So I think we're already starting to zero in on these numbers. We can get the numbers from Westfield.
We're definitely in
and
the
then
neighborhood.
I think a conversation with you, we could come up with what it would cost for us to do this, and then why do we want it, because we're not gonna beat their numbers, that's my sense. and we don't have their expertise at this point. So,
No, I
yeah,
mean-
I can see where it's going, but again, that's not really our job to make a choice here. We're just trying to come up with the best options for East Hampton. So-
Right, I mean, if somebody else wants to come in and offer a different bid, then
Right.
that's totally fine, but,
Early on, your friend Aaron
Mhm.
was talking to me, he has some kind of business, I mean, is it worth reaching out to one of them once we have other numbers and say, do you guys wanna, I'm not sure, I'm trying to make sure that this is balanced and we're being fair about this, but I also
It
don't
was
wanna.
Wired West, right?
Yeah.
yeah, he knows the Wired West guys.
Right.
I mean, yeah, we could talk to the folks
I mean,
from
there's-
Wired
there's
West.
nothing-
There's no
I
reason
just
not
send them
to.
a thing and saying, this is what Westfield's proposed, do you guys wanna make a proposal?
Well,
too?
Westfield has actually been working through Wired West too.
Yeah.
They're a part of the group.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Interesting, so, okay, I did not
yeah,
know
I
this.
mean,
All right.
the exact, and just to be clear, at the end of the day, the only person who would actually be authorized to make any of these decisions is the mayor.
Right, exactly,
Um, But we could give her
Okay.
some suggestions as to things that she could do
Right.
in terms of,
Well, it sounds like we wanna
negotiating
get the
contracts.
numbers from Westfield, and
Yeah.
then we can, include Wired West.
And I think that
wherever else.
Westfield is gonna be doing it not, I don't think that the information that they're gonna be giving us is specifically with them doing it. They're being very clear, they're being very straightforward about, these are the technologies that we have used, these
Right.
are the things that we have
Yeah.
done, but they're not saying, this is how much we're gonna charge you to do it.
Right.
What they're doing is showing us the map.
Yeah.
And they say, if you want somebody to help you, we can contract with you for
Right.
that part, but we're not gonna dictate, it's X amount for this rack, it's
Right.
X amount for this connection.
Right.
And I like that about
Which,
them.
again,
it's-
I
it's
think
very-
that's what
It's very
he's-
neutral as
Yeah.
opposed to,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Well, they're kind of busy, and I don't think
Yeah.
he wants to overcommit either.
Mhm.
He's been upfront about that.
Right, I think the point is that we're not even close to where we're like, okay, we're looking at these people to do it for us.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
still really
Right.
early in that.
Right.
so, right. You guys probably haven't had really a chance to look over this memo though yet.
I have
I've read it.
through.
I don't know that I understand all of it.
Okay. Do you wanna just go through it?
Sure, let's do that.
Alright, because this is the one thing is, the way that I would like to see this go, and you as chair can decide that it should go another way, but, the way I'd sort of like to see this go is that we go through this, we look at our feedback, we revise it, and then we talk about it at the February meeting and vote on something and get it to the council for the
Right.
first council meeting in February, because.
Which is very important, do we hit them then
We-
before the
I mean,
double
if it's the
votes?
second council meeting in February, then that's fine, but I would really, we need to get a vote into the council before really.
Council meets
the
how
end of
many
May.
times per month?
Twice.
Okay.
Except for in the summer, they only meet once, but we could get it onto the council's agenda in June and then vote in July. Like
Okay.
that, we could, but that means that we need to
That's-
have
yeah,
a
it's a lot of
vote
pressure.
by at least, we need to have this at least in subcommittee by May, if we wanna
Makes
get
sense.
this to work, and.
And
in
here we
order-
are in January.
Right, and in order to
Goes
have.
fast.
There it goes.
Goes real
Yeah,
fast.
I mean, I think it's gonna be fine, but we just need to be deliberate about it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna go paragraph by paragraph through this, and can you, let's just try and, stay on topic and
Sounds
figure
good.
out, and just any feedback. So, okay, the first paragraph says, in May of 2018, the East Hampton City Council approved an ordinance, it says an ordinance twice,
Edits.
I'm not a great author. Okay. Establishing the Telecommunication Advisory Committee.
Hey, that's us.
Yes, with the goal of studying what actions East Hampton might take in order to ensure the fastest, most affordable, fairest possible internet to residents. The committee held its first meeting in September. That's not true. It was August, wasn't it?
It was,
Okay.
on the fly edits.
Yeah. And this is why it's important to do these things collaboratively. And has been meeting on a monthly basis since.
Mostly.
Yeah, we missed a month, right?
Then, yeah, all right, that's fine.
Let's not get hung up.
While there is still work to be done, we have several noteworthy findings, which we believe the council and the mayor's office may find interesting, as well as a few recommendations and requests that would support our mission. Any thoughts on that paragraph?
Sounds good.
That's fine.
Aside from the couple of things, yes.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay. To start, the committee has explored several options for but has been particularly focused on exploring the possibility of a municipally owned fiber optics internet utility. The choice of fiber as a medium is a reflection on the fact that it is currently the fastest, most reliable, and most secure way to provide internet service to a home or business.
May I make a point?
Yeah.
It is also the only thing we don't know the upper end of. Like, for example, if we were to lay cable through the town, we know how fast cable is ever gonna go. We don't know how
Scalable.
fast.
That's
so
scalable to your.
Fiber is scalable. At this
Yeah.
point, as far as we know, it could be infinitely scalable.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Let's, yeah.
I mean, I see it has been particularly focused on exploring, and I don't want to say that, I don't want to sound like we were single focused.
No, we did talk about it,
We did,
all the
yeah.
other different.
You say we have
technology.
seen
Right.
a particular value, or we have been drawn to this option, or has seen, there might be a
Okay.
way to do it. I don't know. Just
Do you want to, like, think about it and make a suggestion about, yeah. Anyone who has just, like, and we can also, I can throw this up onto like a Google
Yeah.
Doc if you guys want to make, edits, or suggested edits, and we'll bring it back, but I just,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'll just make a note of, we did
We explored other technologies.
yeah.
stuff. Did kind of like, I mean, I guess what this was just to reflect the fact that we did kind of quickly just like be like, well, this is probably the strongest option.
It really is.
It
Um,
was very clear.
All right, so the municipal ownership model is a reaction to the reality that no private sector company has an incentive to provide the sort of internet service which the residents of Easthampton deserve, particularly when it comes to honoring the principle of net neutrality, which the Federal Communication Commission opted last year not to enforce going forward. So while the committee remains open to other options, we have dedicated most of our time to exploring the viability of a municipal fiber network.
I like the last part, both of them.
Yeah,
It's kind of repeating what you said in the first sentence there,
I think if you open up the first sentence a little bit more of like we had looked at other technologies,
Yeah.
the last sentence,
Just
the
saying
last
that.
part of the sentence is very
Yeah.
clear.
Okay. Anything else on that paragraph?
Nope.
Cool. So I say,
No.
first of all, we reviewed Easthampton's contract with Charter in order to see if any provision of that contract would prohibit Easthampton from undertaking such a project. Having reviewed the contract, it is the opinion of the committee that nothing in that agreement would stop us from setting up our own network. We then explored whether the fact that Easthampton does not have a municipal gas and electric company and does not own the poles that we would run fiber along would prevent us from setting up such a network. While Easthampton would need to become a municipal light plant MLP community in order to put fiber up on the poles, and while the make-ready costs associated with getting the fiber up may be somewhat higher for us than for a city with a municipal gas and electric company, it is possible for communities who did not have an existing municipal utility company to create one for the purpose of building a fiber network. And in fact, a number of hill towns to the west of Easthampton are currently in the process of doing just that.
I think we should explain, everybody, that's not gonna cost anything.
To become a light plant?
Yeah, I do think I get to that later, but
Oh, do you?
let me just, I'll make a
Alright.
note of that to make sure it comes back.
Because some people look at that and say, well, we're creating another, another bureaucracy.
Right, yeah, we're not, like, we don't need to staff it, it just
Right.
makes us, it gives us
Gives us
the
the ability.
power to put things up on the poles.
Right.
The community has been in communication with Whip City Fiber, the high-speed internet provider within Westfield Gas and Electric. Whip City Fiber has generally been seen by observers as a success story for municipal fiber, getting a higher adoption rate than they had forecast. Whip City is not the only community in the area to move in that direction. South Hadley recently voted to begin work on their own fiber network, and a number of hill towns, with the assistance of state and federal funds, have been implementing their own networks. In many of those cases, Whip City Fiber has cooperated with them as a project manager and has developed intermunicipal agreements to share services like billing and tech support. A similar model might be viable in Easthampton. As more communities implement these projects and as connectivity becomes an increasingly important priority for individuals and businesses, we believe that Easthampton should be aware of the effects that internet quality will have on our competitiveness when it comes to attracting families and businesses to our city. Anything there?
That sounds
Oh,
great.
good.
Yeah, that's a good paragraph, yeah.
Cool. As the committee moves into the new year, sorry, was there something?
No, I was catching up with that. It looks good.
As the committee moves into the new year, we are preparing two surveys, one for Easthampton residents and one for Easthampton businesses, which we hope will help to clarify the priorities of our community when it comes to internet access. Once that survey data has been completed, we plan to hold a public hearing where we present our findings and get additional public feedback. We hope that as those surveys roll out, we can rely on the mayor and the city council to help boost their visibility and ensure that we hear from as many voices as possible. Those results will also make up a section of the report that we hope to present to the mayor and the council later this year.
That looks good.
We might be able to just say, we hope we can rely on the mayor and the city council to help boost their visibility and cut out that as those surveys roll out,
Yeah, double talk.
just for conciseness, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that was a little redundant.
Cool. Good catch. One area where it says community, I should say committee. One area where the committee could use some help is cost estimation. While we have developed some preliminary estimates of the cost of a project like this based on information which Whip City Fiber shared with us, getting a true estimate of the cost will involve performing a poll survey to determine
That poll is spelled wrong.
yeah. A poll survey to determine the amount of make-ready work which would be required among other tasks. While the committee is willing to help in every way that it can, it would not be prudent to consider a project like this without a professional cost estimate, which itself will cost money. While we are fully aware of the fiscal limitations imposed on our city in uncertain economic times, we ask that Mayor LaChapelle and her department heads explore ways in which such a study could be economically carried out.
Can we actually, I think, didn't Whip City talk about the cost of doing the poll survey? You know, so we could at least come up with an estimate.
They gave us a specific, number,
Right.
based on the number of polls, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember what that is off the top of my head, but
Well,
I remember
they were
them giving
talking
us-
about the cost of cable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
basically.
they were talking about
That's
the cost of
fine.
make
So
ready.
you're right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they were-
You are
So
correct.
I want to mention, I don't know whether or not this will actually turn out to be anything relevant, but there was a time during one of my economic council meetings where the mayor was talking about, and Jeff Guy was talking about, applying for some grants specifically for the city to hire consultants for any theoretical project that we might be looking at. Now, they were very careful not to imply that they had any project in mind, although sometimes you get the feeling that there is a project in mind that they just don't want to talk about at the moment. However, there might be a chance that there's some money that we could have gotten from the state or from the federal government or could be getting in the future specifically to hire a consultant for
Right.
a project such as this.
Right, and
Good point.
there might also be, yeah, so right, exactly, and that's exactly what I'm asking, is like, you know, I know that we're a little short for free cash right now, or not short, we have that, but yeah, let me back up a little bit. So I've spoken a bit with the mayor about this, and, you know, one of the things that we're looking at is the possibility of a recession, right? So even when we have cash in the bank, there's this sense of like, well, that cash could, if revenues
stay
suddenly
where it
fall,
is.
that cash could help keep, you know, a teacher or a firefighter, you know, from getting laid off, you know, if times get really short. And so there is this desire to potentially bring in grant money whenever it's possible to pay for the stuff, because it's not, it doesn't hit our bottom line.
Doesn't grow on
It's
trees.
Yeah, but I do think that, depending on, that is one thing that I think we could maybe help out with, is getting a sense of like, okay, if we wanted to get the sort of, and just to be clear, Kevin, I'm in no way like what you're doing with your cost estimation is awesome and very,
no.
very much appreciated. But we're like, eventually, in order to bond, we're gonna need
absolutely.
like engineers to come in and say, here's what we think this would cost. And if we even got a sense of what, Sasha's making mac and cheese, that smells really good. If we just got a sense of what that would actually like, what that would even cost, like that might help them to figure out, is this something that could be an appropriation? Is this something that could be a grant? What kind of grant are we talking? Like,
Right.
so that's one. Yeah. So we might be able to clean this paragraph up a little about putting in a bit more detail.
As far as the grants, or,
Yeah.
yeah.
So.
And don't worry about, basically all I was trying to do was to get us to a point where this is, approximately what it might cost.
Right.
It's really the mayor's decision and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ballpark.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
no, that's.
And I mean, I think that's important
Yeah.
information for the mayor to have, like even
Right.
just giving a ballpark is something that's gonna
Right.
give them an idea of what you're
Right.
what you're gonna be looking to lay out. You're not, until you go to actually put it in, you're not gonna have real prices.
Right, but it would be, I think, if we could get this to a point where we could include, maybe to say like, we've looked at this a little bit and based on so-and-so cost per mile, plus blah, blah, blah,
Right.
we think that it would be in the ballpark of this.
Yeah.
Big range.
Yeah, like, that said, we're, and to be clear, like, at, I mean, I know that, like, Wired West charges $75 a month, so say it's $75 a month. If we got a adoption rate like Westfield's, then we would be looking at this amount coming in a month. Right. So, like, to be able to have those basic, like, those really, really high level numbers to say, but that said, we really could use, like, before anything goes, we're gonna need a professional cost estimate. So
Yeah.
if you guys could start working on figuring out how that happens, that's something that we can't do and you can.
Yeah. Good.
Sounds
And
good.
Yeah.
Then,
Yeah.
okay, next paragraph. At this point, the mood of the committee is that we are cautiously optimistic that this may be a great opportunity for our city. While there is research left to do, we at this time would like to recommend that the city council that they vote to become a I guess it's vote for Easthampton to become.
Yeah.
Um,
Because the council doesn't want to become this municipal.
Yeah.
I would also, that first sentence, I would just say, move the committee is cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
Yeah, you're,
Yeah. Agreed.
Cool.
you need an
would just
editor.
say committees.
Yeah, I need an editor on my everyday
Yeah,
speech
we all could
too.
use an editor.
Let's see. Oh, yes, vote for Easthampton to become a municipal light plant. In order to do so, in accordance with MGL Chapter 164, Section 65, the council must vote to become an MLP in two separate, that should really be votes, not elections.
Yeah.
Or actually, that should be fiscal years.
Instead of municipal years.
You
got it
Oh, yeah,
down
it is.
below.
In two separate votes, yeah, in two separate votes,
With a
both
two-thirds
with a
majority.
2/3 majority. That twice can be taken out, in two separate municipal years. And that decision must then be ratified by the voters in a regular or special election.
Okay. So municipal, so you're saying you could do it, when is the the fiscal year, municipal year?
Yeah,
So you
June
can do,
and then July.
June, so you can do it before June and then do it after June and then catch,
Yeah.
okay, I was confused by that part, all right, great, good.
becoming a municipal light plant does not cost the city anything. but it is a necessary step if the city does at some point wish to develop a municipal fiber network. If the city wishes to avoid
I would take out the at some point, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
If the city wants to develop a municipal fiber network.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, we can work on that one too.
okay.
Good.
If the city wishes to avoid a special municipal election, and if the city also wishes to take any action towards this goal before November of 2021, then the committee would recommend that the council take their first of 2 votes in the spring, enabling them to take a second vote at the beginning of the fiscal year and put this matter before the voters in November of 2019.
Which
That's nice.
speaks to exactly to my question. Good, you explained that very well.
Anything else in that paragraph?
No, you know.
Cool. We hope that this memorandum has helped to clarify the work that the Telecommunications Advisory Committee has accomplished so far and the direction that we are headed in. We thank Mayor LaChapelle and the council for giving us the opportunity to explore this exciting subject, and we welcome any questions or feedback that you may have.
Sounds good. Get some edits
Thank
in
you
there.
for,
I think we're-
yeah, no, this is a good first salvo there and get it out there in the public.
Right.
Get things moving.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, thank you, Tom,
Yes.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can
Thank you especially
Clean-
for catching the election time, you know.
Oh,
Yeah, we have to-
yeah, it's really
no,
good that
that's
we
a big
figured
one.
that out in time. So, I mean, yeah, to be honest, I think that, I don't wanna like put my thumb on the scale too much here, but I think that like, if we put this out there and we, like, that there will probably be the sort of, there will probably be interest
Yes.
in the community.
Yeah.
There will probably be folks who are, I mean, I know that a lot of folks are sort of looking to figure out what they're gonna be doing in 2019. I don't think it will be super hard to find some people who
Yeah.
would want to help out with
Yeah.
reaching, I mean, maybe even, I don't know. People will do whatever.
Charter just raised, I think I told you that last week, Charter just raised my rates for,
Mhm.
I just have internet access with them. Does anybody else just
I
have?
only have
I
internet.
only have
with that.
internet.
Yeah, yeah, and mine went from 60 a month to 70.
I guess my auto bills, I should check.
Yeah, I got a bill a month ago and I just sent the usual $59.99 and then I got a bill this month for almost $80 and I was like, what? So I went to their site and looked at the account and I realized the month before they had raised it to 70 and I still owed them, you know, $10 from that.
Looked at
So
that.
just to be aware, you know, it could well be they're helping us sell our cause here, you know, you keep raising your rates, Charter.
But I got the TV and it's starting to, I got certain stations, when
Right.
it just all goes to pieces.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, well,
you
that's
turn it on,
satellite
It
things,
just
yeah.
breaks up.
Yeah, that happens with all cable TV.
Yeah.
And we have the mountain too, which makes everything interesting.
Yeah.
you know.
So, I can take this, make these edits, I can
Yep.
incorporate the stuff that, I mean, you're the next person up on the agenda, so I can incorporate any information that you have into this.
Yep.
And then get a next draft to you guys for the February meeting, which I hope will be attended by everybody, because it would be nice to get this with 9 signatures on it and to hand it over
Absolutely.
to the council like that.
Yep.
And Greg, as chair, how would
Yes.
you feel about being the one to present? I mean, I can present it,
I'd be happy to.
but you know, just to be there to answer any questions at the meeting, and I'll get it put on the agenda.
That sounds great.
And
My vice president can come.
yeah,
Or
As many
vice
as- I
chair.
mean, I'd be.
Yeah, no, I mean,
interested, 'cause
anyone
I
who-
want to contribute, but I'd
Yeah.
like to be there to see how it goes.
yeah, anybody who
Yeah,
wants
absolutely.
to
Yep.
should. It would be great to have as many
Show
people
of
as
strength.
possible. Yeah.
Great.
And obviously I'll be there.
We're just talking about the next meeting?
Well,
When is that?
well, let's see. Okay, so next meeting, if we're talking first Monday in February,
All right, that would be the 4th.
yeah. So, oops.
So at this point, are we going to ratify to approve this in an edited form?
No,
For February?
I'll bring the edits back and we can vote, because we only have 5 people right now, so
Right.
while that's a quorum, I would rather
Be a
have like
larger
a,
group.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is Rima ever coming back?
I think it
we
depends
should-
on her husband's health. But
Yeah.
I haven't heard of any changes there, so.
Yeah, let's
she
reach out.
she used to respond when I'd send out like the
Yeah.
meeting reminders. She stopped.
Okay.
So I don't
Could-
even know what's going on there as far as that
It might not
goes.
hurt to reach out and just see if this is, I mean,
What she
it's
wants.
completely understandable if.
Oh, yeah,
but-
I'm not
Yeah.
by any
No,
means.
but I think we should,
It
it's
would be
gonna-
nice to know what's going on for.
Because if it's not something she's
well, then we
able
should get
to.
another
All right, so
person
the
before we go
4th
through
is
the
gonna be
public.
our next meeting?
Yes,
Yeah, and so if we ratified that for me to put it on the agenda, it would be for the second city council meeting in February,
okay, which is,
which would be February 20th. Because I gotta get things to them the Thursday before the meeting.
okay, so February 20th.
So
Okay,
that's when,
that sounds good.
and hopefully by that point, we also have a better sense of what's going on with the survey.
Great.
Um,
Yep.
Okay, sweet.
Good.
So
That was the 22nd,
20.
21st?
the meeting,
Yeah, the full city,
that'll be the 20th.
the 20th, it's
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yep.
Yeah, they
Maybe
do
we
the
skip
first.
band night?
Yeah, well, it's at 6, so you can just present and get right over there. I mean, technically,
That's generally when we hit it, but it's okay. We'll make it happen.
so the way that we do these things is usually that communications from other city officials is one of the first things we do. So you could probably move it to like 6:30, and depending.
No
on where
worries.
we're-
I mean, it'd be better if I just like
Yeah.
moved band night to Tuesday that week
Ah,
or something.
cool.
so.
I didn't know if you were one of those bands that are like, this is the one day of the week that works for everyone. That's all right.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the two.
Okay, cool.
So fortunately, we have that.
So, anyway, that's all I have on this agenda item.
Great.
Sounds good.
Definitely, put it up so you can make some edits or something.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can put it up, and you also now all have a Word version of it, because it came out with the, or did you send that as a,
No, this is actually a PDF. That's the
Okay,
only way that
then-
it would attach. So
Ah,
we will have
all
to.
right, I will send it as a Word doc.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Um,
I tried doing a
Work with
copy
that.
paste with the Word, and it was
I'll just send it to this,
exploded all
yeah,
over everything.
Yeah, PDF's nice to read on these, but
yeah, I mean,
Adobe wants your money.
Yeah, maybe.
yeah. Okay, sweet, thus concludes.
Yes.
Thus concludes. Moving on
Next,
to Kevin
this is
presenting
fast.
some cost analysis findings.
Right, yeah, basically I took the document that I sent out to everybody, which you guys I think have all seen. I apologize for not sending it over to Westfield sooner, but it was just another one of
It's
those
okay.
months.
It
Right,
happens.
Rich got back to me almost immediately saying that he wanted to run the document and the cost analysis that I did, past people there at Westfield. So I told Greg at that point, I don't wanna push them on this because they're busy and they've been really good to us. And I think he's gonna give us a lot more than I was asking for in the original email, which can only be helpful to us. So as soon as I have that information from him or something solid, should I just wait for the next meeting? Should I then send it out to all the other members of the committee on
Let's,
the email
yeah, I think it would be
chain?
great to send it to the committee members. and they
Okay,
can-
I think then that's what I will
Add it
do.
to
So
the
as soon as
agenda
I
item.
have that, yeah.
I think that at this point, what we're really starting to see is like time is getting tight. And I
Right.
think that if we can do a little bit of off hours work,
Yeah, I think
that'll
it-
be to our
Right.
benefit as opposed to
So
waiting until the next
yeah.
monthly
Right.
meeting.
So here's my request then, Kevin, is
Yep.
when you get those numbers from them,
Yep.
can you A, send it to everyone, and B, summarize it in a paragraph that you can insert into this document,
Sure.
so that we
Yep.
can just vote
Okay,
on that language
That sounds great.
at that meeting?
okay, yep, absolutely, okay, let me get this written down. Let's see. CC. Committee members. Summarize. Findings for inclusion in memo. Okay. And again, I'll run that by everybody and any, thing, the paragraph in the
Right.
memo. Okay, good. Absolutely. So as soon as I hear from him, then I'll let everybody in the room know and anyone else on the chain.
Okay, so yeah, and really it could just be like this paragraph, like, just say, here's what we have so far.
Right.
And then one thing that we could use some help with is, in the future, we're gonna need more.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
Great.
Okay. Okay. Anything else on that point? Just, we haven't really, have we gotten to discuss our those cost estimates yet at all? That you came up with?
I don't know if I got
Not
them on
in
the agenda at the
full.
last meeting, so.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can just give a quick one, because I already half explained it early on. Basically, running the backbone from Westfield GE plant where we visited in North Westfield to hub location in Easthampton, and I'm thinking actually, theoretically behind the municipal buildings here.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if we have the space or not, but that's, for now, that could be the spot. And that cost was based on running the cable, which was, I can't remember where that figure was. Basically, the same as running the cable in town, but we saw the backbone cable, and it was basically the same thing. So I have to figure the cost of running that isn't gonna be significantly more than running the smaller cable in town.
Right.
And based on, I actually Googled the mileage and that, so that's where that number came from. And again, I asked Rich for feedback on
Right.
that one, so he'll have a much better idea, but I think I'm in the ballpark there. The cost of the hub is actually what he told us when we were down there and talking about that thing. So the only thing I asked him on that was, did that include the slab or any construction costs involved? But
Right.
those things are pretty much prefab, and his cost included the racks and whatever hardware we were gonna need to get the first iteration of this thing up and running. And then if we actually expand out and get more hubs, we'll just add the cost as we go out. The third and the fourth ones, the running fiber optic cable, basically is exactly as I said. It's based on cost of, and this was, I saw from a couple of sources, one being Whip City, but a couple other sources on the internet, 60,000 a mile.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Right, and we have 97 miles of road, so I'm probably overestimating that one a
Which is
little
always the
bit.
better way to go.
No, absolutely, because there's parts of Westfield where there's roads, but there's not a lot of houses and stuff, so, and again, absolutely, it's, go off the line. And then the end run costs are based on $1,000 per household, and that was directly from Whip City again, and that included all the equipment and.
Yeah, that included the router, that included
Yeah.
the demarcation.
I used 4,000 customers for initial estimates because we have 8,000 customers figuring we can.
Do
But
about
again,
50%.
as I said down below, this is gonna be done in phases, we'll
Yeah.
do the backbone and the audiody and then pick one neighborhood as our initial rollout. And then maybe one or two phases after that, so you don't bond this all at one time. And then the miscellaneous costs, which we have to survey the telephone poles, that might actually be split out from this, we can hope. Initial employees, and that's one of the ones I'm hoping I get some feedback from Whip City on, because I'm not even sure what's that gonna involve as far as the front office, as far as technical people and administrative people. Programming costs, as far as getting this thing up and running, advertising and PR, vehicles, so all these things. I'm thinking that 250 is probably low, but I don't think we're gonna go over $500,000 on the first iteration, even
No,
including
not the first
salaries.
iteration, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Especially because.
And then we build out as the revenue starts coming in, so it's, the conservative business model, and that's what we've been talking about all along.
Yeah.
So that's basically, my cost up to this point. I did put some research and some time into it, but it's very preliminary, and we obviously have some edits and updates to make.
I think it's a pretty
Right.
cohesive, comprehensive list.
No, and I
Yeah.
talked about return on investment down here, but again, that's really pie in the sky. And I was
Yeah.
thinking $50 a month, but even then, we're talking about this thing paying back in a time frame of 10 years, which is why I think it's gonna be such an easy sell to the public.
Yeah.
I mean, in the next 10 years, the fiber will still be good.
Yeah.
The only thing we'd have to do is, for the next big push, is probably buy the equipment that would bring it up to 10 gigabit.
The big hump to get over here is gonna be the bonding,
We got some
because
time.
we
We got a
are
little
in a
bit of time.
time now where we are financing a lot of big projects like
Yeah.
the school and other things we've talked about, so there's gonna be some pushback there.
Yeah.
But again, if we're doing this thing in phases, and,
Right.
I could see this as a no-brainer, so.
Yeah, I mean, right, so that would be, that's what I would love to get as an idea of like, here's what eventually I think they would probably be interested in addition to this big, I think that, all of this seems generally reasonable to me. I think that everything that's heard is about 10 mil, and if you look at the size of Westfield compared to us, that's about right, so. but then, you know, the big thing is like, okay, so what would we actually need to bond for to get this off the ground? That's
Right.
like if
Exactly.
we wanted to do a fiber hood, where like, and we like, what would we have to do to get that started in that first fiber hood, and then like, you know, so those are sort of, but like, you know, and again, that's the sort of thing where it might not hurt to have a consultant at some point. But,
Absolutely.
um,
I think we can already determine, you know, that first round would be 3 to 4 million, and then probably followed by 2 in the same range. But we need to get some professionals in here to tighten those
Right.
numbers up.
yeah. So, but right, so there's the upper, but honestly, like $3 to $4 million in the grand scheme of like, this is not that, and again, it just keeps, I think the point that I want to sort of impress upon my colleagues on the council and folks in the city is that this isn't a luxury project, right? South Hadley is going there. Westfield is there. Holyoke is gonna be there.
Whether they
Northampton
like it
will-
or not.
Yeah. Northampton will take forever, but they're gonna get there eventually. These are places that we are competing with.
On a slightly related note, I am now in touch with the person who is driving the Northampton. His name is Mark Hamill.
Yeah,
Not that
no
Mark
way.
Hamill,
Right.
different Mark Hamill.
I
But
see
I'm
that
in touch
name
with him.
on
He's
the
on-
internet sometimes.
He's on one of the Internet for All
Yeah,
groups.
yeah.
He's
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the
Absolutely. I've seen him all over the place. And
Right.
so I reached out to him on Facebook
Good.
about a week ago, and so I'm going to have lunch with him and his partner,
Great.
and we're going to talk about it. So
Fantastic, very good.
How long would you take the bond out for?
10 years. I mean,
'Cause we did a cost analysis on CPA funds,
Mhm.
Right.
for getting a bond for doing the old city hall.
Mhm.
And
Right.
you look at the difference in the interest rates from like 5 years, 10 years. We
Right.
did the whole thing off from 5 to 20 years.
Yeah.
And over a 20-year period, it's almost costing almost
it's
as
huge.
much.
it's
Yeah.
huge.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's gigantic. If you're borrowing like 3 or 4 million, it's gonna cost you like 2 million for financing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're paying more than the cost of the school in interest on the bonds for the
Yeah.
school.
Absolutely.
I mean, like
Yeah.
significantly
It's
more.
huge.
Yeah.
Sad.
We could figure out, if you got so many people are gonna sign up, maybe we could cut down on the, the amount of time we take the bond off.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's hard, but you got to balance. Like you know how many people are going to buy in. If you balance it for 70% and you get 50,
Yeah.
then what
Well,
happens
yeah.
to the
Yeah.
bond in that case?
It's
So
really
you
apples and
gotta
oranges.
really
you know,
balance that to
because
see
we're
how
a
much
much
you can
smaller
really do.
bond, and we can generate revenue pretty quick and start
Yeah.
paying this back.
I mean, that is the good thing about this project is it is a revenue generating
Yeah.
product. It's,
Right.
it's not gonna be something that
Yeah.
we're just pumping money into it and it's gonna keep taking money for its whole
Yeah.
existence. It's
Yeah.
eventually going to
Right.
pay us back.
The
You're
school's-
gonna get to
The
zero.
school's big, painful, but necessary, you know, whereas this
Right.
one, I think, is more on the order of delivering a service that the city would like, you know. And I
Exactly.
think it, you know, prepares the city for the future.
Yeah, and that's before you even start talking about the fact that, you know, this could be the difference between a business locating in town or not locating in town.
With
This
these
is
the
mills-
difference between-
absolutely the difference between
With
that.
these
Yeah.
mills filling up, I mean, this is part of the
Especially when all
package.
these other communities
yeah.
around us have it.
And
Yeah.
even,
Right, that's the thing, it's one thing if this is like something that nobody else has and we think it would be cool.
We
The
would
second
still
that
be on the
other-
forward edge of it,
Yeah.
which is nice, because, you know,
Right.
we're not the first adopter, but we're still in the pack of early adopters as opposed to,
Yeah.
like, all the communities.
well,
So-
especially cities that don't have an MLP in place
Right.
already, you know, that was the big hump to get over
Yeah.
when we first started meeting, and now we seem to be wrapping our arms around that, so.
Yeah.
It's not a
So you
sci-fi
had-
channel, you know?
What's that?
It's not a sci-fi channel,
Yeah.
No,
You know?
no.
sort of speak.
Mystery Theater 3000.
It's reality, you know?
I
Yeah.
think, and I mean, from everything I'm seeing in the industry, every article that I'm seeing, that book that I linked you to,
Yeah,
this is the direction that I think more and more of the country is gonna be heading toward.
yeah,
And no one else is gonna provide it for us.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But nobody's
But-
stopping us from doing it for our own.
Yeah,
That's right.
so it's cool. Yeah, about that book, I got it as an audiobook, it's on Audible.
Yeah.
This is like the big book
It's
about
just called
fiber.
fiber.
Yeah.
So if anybody else, I mean, I'm pretty sure I can finish it in a month. I listen to
I'll
about
probably
an
get it.
hour worth of audiobook a day, because that's how I do my commute.
Yeah.
Obviously, while you're driving.
So, But, you know, I mean, it'll also be as a physical book, so if anyone else wants to review that, I'd be happy to discuss it.
I absolutely am going to get a copy of
I'll
that.
probably get a copy, it sounds interesting,
Yeah.
I'll review it.
And it's so relevant to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I would love for her to come
Yeah.
in and, if she can.
That would really be great.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
exciting.
So she lives in this area?
She's out of either Boston or New York, so she's close, but she's been paying very particular attention to Western Mass
Right.
because of all the till towns that are doing this, because this is
Yeah.
huge. This
Yeah.
is,
Yeah,
it's a burgeoning thing, and it's not just us, like, you know, more and more states, more and more municipalities
Yeah.
are going that
I don't
direction.
see how we go wrong talking to, you know, a legal evil as far as what we're trying to rule out here.
Yeah.
You know, she could only bring, you know,
Clarity.
information and clarity to the
Yeah.
table.
well, let's see if she'll go to a meeting.
I would love
Um,
it if we can.
So do we have anything to discuss as far as the poll goes?
I think we've kind of discussed it offhand. We really, I.
Do we have
At this
any
point,
new
really what we
information?
need is Jason to give us the link. And
Okay.
he told me on Thursday that he would be sending it out,
Yeah.
All right,
so
so
And
when
then
that
get the-
happens, we'll.
Yeah.
I'll bug him. I'll put that on my list
Right.
of things to
And
do.
then I think people have to look over the poll if they have any input into
Yeah.
it and get those things back, and let's get this thing finalized, and then we
Yeah.
can discuss how we're rolling it out. and-
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'd love to have those questions all finalized by the end,
You know,
by
I-
next meeting.
Yeah,
Let's say
exactly.
for
You
the
know, I
next
think if we
meeting.
have the survey by then, and if we have this ready to go before the city council, then it's been a good month.
That'll
You know,
be a
and by
very
then, I
highly
think we'll
productive
have
meeting.
numbers from Whip City. and-
Yeah, and that'll give us some time to focus on the survey while we wait for the city to respond
Yeah.
on this other stuff.
You know, I think the schedule is still good, and, you know, even with the new election thing that you brought up, I think everything is fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna speak to the mayor this evening probably, and I will let her know about that
Good.
little wrinkle, and I'm sure she'll be thrilled to hear about that, but, it's.
She should be.
But I really think that it's not a hard sell, and frankly,
The mayor could use some good news though, you know, this is an easy rollout.
Yeah, it is.
And we all win if we can actually pull this off,
Yeah.
so including Easthampton.
and just pragmatically, it never hurts to have a feel-good thing to advocate for when you're running. I mean, who knows who will be running, but it just can't hurt. So,
Something positive for a change. Right?
yeah, seriously.
That's a good point.
That's, anything else, guys?
I think that was
Nope.
pretty much it.
I've got a list of what we're gonna be doing. Tom is sharing a Word version of the memo, Kevin is sharing costs in an email to ratify before the next meeting.
Yep.
Jason will be sending the poll. We will be meeting on the 4th. We'll be presenting the memo if everything ratifies out for February 21st,
20th.
or 20th? 21st is what I have.
Yeah, the 20th.
It is the 20th. That's my bad. I'll fix that.
All right, good.
20th, and I'll be contacting the author, see if we can get more information from her, at the very least maybe a conference call.
Yeah.
We can kind of sit down and talk to her about.
Yep.
And we are gonna look into, what was the thing we were looking into? You were gonna talk to, about the PEG and municipal fiber
Yeah,
agreements.
yeah, and you are going to follow up and see how Rainbow's doing, right?
Okay.
I can do that.
Yes.
So the thing was talk to Whip City and how they're dealing with the industrial media, or what?
With their own media companies.
Right,
You
that's
know,
okay. yeah.
if I recall correctly, they basically said they're not currently. I asked them
Yeah.
about it during the tour.
Yeah.
They basically said they weren't currently doing anything with it, but I'd be interested to see what other, if there are other communities.
I
that
can,
have done anything
I
there.
can confirm that, and then we
Yeah.
can just.
Confirm that, I'll
I'm
look
sure that-
around and see if I can
yeah.
find any other information.
I'm sure that once Stan is brought on to the committee, that Stan would be
He'll have a lot of information.
really interested in helping out.
Actually, I'll, if you don't mind, I'll ask him in advance if he has any information or knowledge about,
Yeah, he's an emergency appointment, so he's a member of this committee, so feel free to
Okay.
reach out to him and say, hey, your homework for.
he and I are actually, we've connected many, many times when they were first moving in. He actually was gonna use my company to do some of the IT work that they had there. They ended up going with a different provider, but like he and I have been like close ever since, so.
Perfect.
Great.
I can just reach out to him.
All right.
Looks good.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
I will make a motion.
That's our next steps.
To adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right.
All in favor?
Okay.
All opposed?
You'll get the
Pass.
minutes like in the next couple of weeks. I'll
Thank
probably
you.
send them to you
I'll
before
add
I
this
go
to
to
the
California.
minutes and I'll add the